Legendary Pokemon are almost always released overpowered. Since the beginning, mythical legendary Pokemon have had a controversial existence inside of Pokemon Unite. From the previous EX label to some of them defining the meta for several months. Some released overpowered, while others needed to have an emergency buff after not being strong enough. While this happens time and time again, these Pokemon are beloved by many and are often iconic and generation defining. It's inevitable that we'll see more and more of these Pokemon released inside of Pokemon Unite. So in this video, I am going to be taking a look at a Pokemon that will not only be a fun addition to the Unite roster, but something that I really want to wish into existence. Jirachi. Before we get started, hello, and if you are new here, I am Steel Agent Kyle, and I am a Pokemon Unite commentator. You may have seen me casting the official Pokemon Unite Championship Series tournaments this year, as well as host Underdunk. It's the longest running grassroots Pokemon Unite tournament series. I've been making a lot of Unite-related content here on my YouTube, and would love if you gave this video a like. Let's get back into it. We're gonna talk about Jirachi, the Wish Pokemon. It is a mythical Pokemon first introduced in the Hoenn region. It is a dual-type Psychic and Steel Pokemon, and its base stats in the main series games are 100 across the board. Similar to some of the other mythical Pokemon like Mew, Celebi, Manaphy, Victini, and Landform Shaman. With an even stat spread, this leaves a lot of potential to what role Jirachi can fill. Mew is the only one of these that is currently in Pokemon Unite, and it is listed as an attacker. But it is quite versatile, even with some teams utilizing it as a supporter class Pokemon. Personally, and heavy bias alert, I would love to see this Pokemon as a supporter, so that's what I will be doing in this video to showcase it. Sure, there are absolutely some other ways that it could be implemented, such as an attacker similar to Mew, but I want to think of the lore of Jirachi granting wishes. I think that it kind of plays into a supportive class Pokemon more than anything. So, how I have it designed, Jirachi is a ranged, special attack-based supporter Pokemon, and I think it will need an expert trainer to maximize the value and tame this mythical Pokemon. Jirachi's passive ability in the main series games is Serene Grace, which doubles the chance of a move having an additional effect. In Unite, I'd like to see this ability increase the effects of the abilities outside of damage. I think that doubling the effects would likely be too steep, so increasing by a percentage could be reasonable. Jirachi's auto attacks aren't anything incredibly wild, but it will release a small energy pulse at a target enemy from range. Every third auto attack becomes a boosted attack and hits an enemy for increased damage and emits a healing pulse around that targeted enemy, healing Jirachi and any allies in that area of effect. I think this would work really well, again, as a supporter class Pokemon. There are not a ton of Pokemon that really heal with a boosted auto attack, so I think this could be a really cool addition. And let's talk about the abilities for Jirachi. You're gonna start off with Life Dew, a weak healing ability. It locks onto a singular target and heals itself along with that allied Pokemon. At level 4, you'll have access to either upgrade it to Healing Wish or Cosmic Power. Healing Wish. This is a true healing ability, but there's a twist. The healing of this Pokemon is substantial, but it comes with a cost. Jirachi sacrifices a portion of its own HP to instantly heal a nearby ally, but if Jirachi has HP above 50%, it will receive a brief movement speed buff. Then at level 10, you can upgrade it to Healing Wish Plus, which changes the HP threshold for that secondary effect and also increases the healing slightly and grants a brief invincibility status. Very brief is kind of the key, otherwise you might be a little bit too powerful. I see this ability as a true healing support that attempts to heal from the backline during those team fights, and since that healing percentage will be more potent when Jirachi is at a higher HP, it won't want to be in the thick of those team fights. Cosmic Power. This is the other upgrade option from Life Dew, and this ability is focused on enabling your ally Pokemon. Jirachi will bathe itself along with the allies in a cosmic energy in an area of effect around it. Allies within this area will receive a defense, special defense, and a gradual, it's a small amount of healing for 5 seconds. Then at level 10, the ability upgrades and grants resistance from hindrances. Whereas the Healing Wish set will be focused on being a more passive support and topping off those HP bars, balancing its own HP to ensure maximum healing. This ability I see as a true enabler. I envision this move getting used as more of an aggressive style support. It'll be great to use right before your damage dealers or tanks in engage in those big team scuffles. Ability number 2. Well, this second ability slot contains abilities that offer some damage opposed to that first ability slot, and this is where being an expert pilot on this Pokemon will be required. Both of these abilities are area abilities, which will require skill shots and perfect timing to maximize the value. You start out with Confusion, a common first ability used by many Psychic-type Pokemon. So Jirachi will fire a weak telekinetic force in a direction, which stuns and slightly damages the opposing Pokemon. From there, at level 6, you'll have access to learn one of 2 abilities, both of which offer some damage and utility for Jirachi along with the team. The first upgrade option is Jirachi's signature move, Doom Desire. This ability is an area ability where Jirachi will cast Doom Desire in a location, marking it with a star. After a short delay, stars will crash down in this area, dealing damage and reducing the enemy's special defense for 4 seconds. Any allies in that area will receive a shield, and then at level 12, it upgrades. The stars will also slow the enemy and give a larger shield to the ally Pokemon. This ability is designed to help support your damage carries and defender Pokemon, and likely get out from a disadvantageous fight. It provides an escape plan for the Pokemon because the enemy will second guess chasing a Pokemon through this move. The other upgrade option is Future Sight. This ability will be a bit different from both Espeons and Gardevoirs, as it is a low damage but more of a utility type ability. Once again, Jirachi will mark a location, sending a psychic energy that explodes on a delay. The explosion will deal some damage to the enemy Pokemon or wild Pokemon, but the focus of this ability is the debuff that it adds to the enemy Pokemon and the shield that it adds to the ally Pokemon. This is designed as an enabling ability to support engages from all-rounders or defender Pokemon. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. I think there are probably another 5 or so abilities that we could see with Jirachi, but the way I designed the kit is kind of what I want to see. But let's give some honorable mentions to some other potential options for this Pokemon. Gravity. I could see this being something that slows down enemies in an area of effect. We obviously already have this ability in the game with Clefable. Meteor Mash, a damaging move. It's something that a couple Pokemon have. Metagross has it, Lucario has it in the early game, but I always love Meteor Mash. It's kind of cool and it kind of fits into Jirachi's lore of the stars and everything. Rest. I think this is an early game healing ability. Again, plays into Jirachi's lore because it is, kind of a sleeping giant, if you may. Zen Headbutt. It's a damaging ability that can stun the enemy. I don't think we really have too many Pokemon that have this in the game. Right now, I think it's just Metagross, but I could see this being something that could be really fun. Maybe like a self-stun and then, a stun on the opposing Pokemon. Psychic. It's kind of an ability that we have on some Pokemon. I mean, Psychic, the most recent one, as a supporter, already has it, where it stuns the enemy and then you could push them away depending on what you need to do. I think that's really powerful, especially as a supporter. I mean, you see how frequently Psyduck is used, and almost every single time you're seeing it use Psychic, so it's a very strong move. I wonder if there's a way that we could implement it in Unite to be a little bit different, at least enough different so it's not the exact same as Psyduck, but I really love Psychic in general. Let's get into the Unite move for Jirachi. I'm gonna preface this with, sorry, I wrote this joke, I don't remember at what time, but it's bad, so let's get into it. No need to pretend that the airplanes in the night sky on Thea Sky Ruins are shooting stars, because Jirachi is making a wish right now. See, I told you it was bad. The Unite move is called Wish Upon a Shooting Star. Okay, yeah, I didn't know how to intro this. Unite moves always have a fun name, and this one would be fun because it's based on its lore and design. If that is what the Unite move is called, if it does get implemented, I am so sorry to the casters of this game. I guess maybe myself included, because I know that is quite the mouthful to try to maybe say in a big team engage, but it could be fun. Regardless, this is a powerful Unite move focused on healing your allies. So Jirachi falls asleep briefly, becomes untargetable, then it wakes up and releases an aura in the area around it. In this area of effect, ally Pokemon are healed, given a shield, and then all enemy Pokemon caught in this area have their healing reduced. This makes Jirachi the foundation for a big team fight. It will help zone out enemies from entering that area of effect, similar to Delphox, but then also give allies some healing to help them keep upright during those big skirmishes. Right now, now I have the healing and shields as percentages, and compared to some of the other Unite moves, these are a little bit on the lower side of the spectrum since this move will also have a decent amount of utility. It also gives it a little bit of room for buffs if needed or nerfs if it's too powerful. A lot of the Unite moves are very powerful currently in the game, and this one kind of takes like a couple of them and mishmashes them. Thinking like Alchemy's Fluffy Cream Supreme, which heals in an area, along with Delphox that reduces his healings, but also damages. This doesn't damage, and it mostly just heals, so it does have a fair amount of counterplay. Floof's right there. It does have a fair amount of counterplay because while Jirachi is starting to fall asleep, there is that brief moment where enemies can just back out if needed. So there is a little bit of counterplay to it, and I think if they implement it in a way where there's a lot of lower side healing, like a little bit lower on their percentages, it can actually make it a little bit lackluster, so it gives a little bit of room to play with the percentages and make it either too powerful, too weak, or hopefully just right. Now let's talk about some potential builds and macro with this Pokemon if it is implemented in this way. There are some notable items that Jirachi could make great use of, so let's talk about the builds. Battle items, especially with the Healing Wish build, Potion could be a near necessity. This will help keep Jirachi above that healing threshold for bonus healing amount, and really when you think about it, that additional movement speed could be very useful. X Speed. I see a lot of supporters use this item so they can keep up with the high mobility damage carry Pokemon, plus it just allows Jirachi to either stay a bit more safe if they push a little too far forward. Full Heal, Eject Button, these items are almost good on every single Pokemon, so I think it's almost goes without saying, but I think sometimes you have to say it. Full Heal and Eject, usually good on most Pokemon. All right, let's talk about the held items. There are gonna be a few of them that are almost required. One of them we're gonna talk about first, XP Share. This should go without saying once again, but XP Share is definitely gonna be required on this Pokemon. Generally speaking, there is no reason to leave XP Share off of a supporter Pokemon, especially this one, since it doesn't evolve, it gets its Unite move early, and it gets its plus moves early. Not to mention that XP Share is probably the most broken item in Pokemon Unite, just because the essentially XP that it generates out of thin air. This one might come with a little bit of controversy, but if you know me, you've watched me cast, I love this item. Leftovers. Similar to Potion on the Healing Wish build, Leftovers is a great way to gain passive healing out of combat moments. Since Jirachi can stay in the backline and not take damage itself, Leftovers can help ensure that Jirachi stays above that bonus healing and movement speed threshold. I love Leftovers. I think it's such an underrated item. I mean, you see players starting to use it more frequently. I mean, you think LG, I mean, you watch their games and Slash is often using Leftovers because it allows you to stay a little bit more aggressive. So Leftovers, I think, could be really good on this Pokemon. Buddy Barrier. This is a classic item that is good on most, if not all, supports. What it does is it gives a shield to an ally Pokemon during those big team fights once that Unite move is popped. And this item can honestly be the difference between winning and losing a team fight because of how valuable that extra shield is to not only yourself, but an ally Pokemon nearby. Special attack specs. This is where maybe it gets a little bit spicy. We do see a lot of healing supports like Blissey, Clefable, and even Comfey sometimes use this item since usually healing percentage is based off of that special attack stat. More stacks means more heals, means higher numbers, but this does have some risk with it because sometimes scoring leaves you in maybe a less than advantageous position, leaving you maybe susceptible to giving up KOs, which then can leave your damage carrying allies alone and vulnerable, which is never good if you are trying to support them. Rescue Hood. This gives an increase to shields along with healing. It is a safer option for supports that give shields and heals if you do not want to stack the special attack specs. Of course, there are some honorable mentions for items that could potentially work, and something like Resonant Guard and Focus Band come to mind. But it all comes down to your playstyle, what the team composition is, and even what the enemy team is playing. But there are many, many ways to equip your items on a support like this. We have hit the end of the video, so thank you for sticking around and watching my video. If you like what you saw, please make sure to like and subscribe. I will be creating many more of these videos along with some other types of Unite content such as Pokemon Spotlights, tournament breakdowns. So tell me what Pokemon you'd like to see enter the fray next in Pokemon Unite in those comments below. If you want more content, make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I host and commentate tournaments, have live gameplay, and hang with my community. Until next time, trainers, I will see you later.